You're listening to the micro version of the Savage Lovecast. www.savagelovecast.com.
If you're stuck in a relationship quandary, or if you're looking for sexual harmony, well, there's nothing you can't ask on the Savage Lovecast.
People are the problem on airplanes, not service animals. People being assholes. People push and shove to board, including people who don't have luggage they need to stuff into the overhead compartments, which I've never understood. Why are you rushing onto the airplane if you don't need somewhere to put a bag? Who wants to maximize the amount of time they have to spend in the airplane? Also, assholes on airplanes, people who talk on airplanes. The worst of all, people who talk to strangers who have their headphones in and their hoodies up. Some of those strangers resembling me. Then there are those people who don't shut their windows, people who let their kids play bloop bloop games on tablets without using headphones or turning the sound off. And of course, there are those people who bring fake emotional support animals onto airplanes. They might be the biggest assholes in the air, and that is saying something, because up in the air it is the asshole Olympics. These assholes are abusing a system put in place so that non-assholes who actually require service animals to function could bring their service animals onto airplanes. And now, after putting up with dogs and cats and pigs and lizards and monkeys biting people and pissing and shitting in aisles and tormenting those of us with allergies, the airlines are cracking down. It will no longer be enough, at least on Delta and United, which last week refused to let a person board with her emotional support peacock. It won't be enough for people to produce a note from a doctor that says their pig or their peacock is an emotional support animal. They will have to produce paperwork showing that their service animal was actually trained to be a service animal. And it's not just a beloved pig in a service animal jacket that any asshole can purchase on Amazon for $15. Speaking of assholes, Genesia Ross, who's not an asshole, she is a 17-year-old student at Alexandria High School in Alexandria, Alabama. She asked her girlfriend to prom during a school talent show. She'd been told not to do it. She'd been planning to do it, and she was told not to do it right before the show, but the show's MC didn't get the update, didn't know the proposal was off, so the MC invited Genesia up onto the stage to make the proposal. Unsure of what to do, the Associated Press reported Genesia went ahead with the proposal as planned. And the school, this is where we get to the assholes, the school suspended Genesia and the talent show's MC, another female student, for causing, quote unquote, a disruption. Funnily enough, a male student at Alexandria High, a kid with the wonderful name Hunter Borders, was told not to propose to his girlfriend during a talent show at Alexandria High 3 years earlier. He did it anyway, and are you sitting down? Hunter wasn't suspended. And administrators didn't make an all-school announcement after Hunter asked his girlfriend not to prom, but to marry him, apologizing to anyone who might be offended, as they did after Genesia asked her girlfriend to prom. That statement that the school read over the school's PA also described Alexandria High School, a school named after a town that was named after Alexander the Great, one of history's biggest homos. They went on to describe Alexandria High as, quote unquote, a Christian school. Alexandria High is a public school. Before we go on, I want to note, positively, silver lining, Genesia and her girlfriend have the support of their families and many of their classmates who staged a walkout in protest, something I never thought I'd see in the rural South. But moving on, seldom is it asked, is our high school administrators learning? It would appear not, judging from the behavior of the administration at Alexandria High School in Alexandria, Alabama. Because if they'd been paying attention in 2010, if they had been learning, they would have heard about Constance McMillan, a lesbian kid growing up in a small town in Mississippi. A student at Itawamba County Agricultural High School, Constance wanted to take her girlfriend to prom, and after trying to block her from attending prom with her girlfriend, the school canceled prom and blamed Constance. Because allowing Constance and her girlfriend to attend prom would cause, you guessed it, quote unquote, a disruption. The administrators at Alexandria High School are learning now what the administrators at Itawamba County Agricultural High School learned then. Discriminating against queer kids is going to cause a bigger disruption than not discriminating against them ever could. The Associated Press reports it is unclear if the two girls will be allowed to attend the prom, but Alexandria High School principal Mac Hawley said Alexandria's prom has had same-sex couples before. He went on to say that the school can't ban same-sex couples from attending because, quote, it's probably against the law. Spoiler, Principal Hawley, it is against the law. And unless you want the disruption you caused to get incalculably worse, Principal Hawley, you will not try to stop Genesia and her girlfriend from attending prom. And unless you want the ACLU suing your school, again, a school named after one of history's great homos, you won't describe your public school as a Christian school anymore, even if the majority of the students there are Christian, and you won't fuck with the queer kids in your school the way you fucked with Genesia, unless you want the world to come down on your head the same way the world came down on the heads of the administrators at Itawamba Agricultural High School in 2010. All right, coming up on today's Lovecast on the Magnum, erotic film director, screenwriter, and producer Erika Lust is here to talk about how robots have started making your porn and the disturbing new developments in robot-produced porn. And a quick shout-out to a listener, Matt with 2 T's, ran into a friend of yours. She wanted me to let you know that the next time she's in Tel Aviv, you guys will be having a cafe car together at Cosba. And now, your calls. ThredUp is the world's largest online thrift store with over 35,000 brands at up to 90% off retail price. It's the style secret over 1 million women use to refresh their closets. Get an extra 30% off your first order. Go to thredup.com/savage. That's THREDUP.com/savage for an extra 30% off today. This episode of the Lovecast is brought to you by Zeal, the best way to find top local licensed and pre-screened massage therapists to come to your home anytime. Go to zeal.com and get $25 off your first massage by using the promo code SAVAGE at checkout. This episode of the Savage Lovecast is brought to you by adamandeve.com. Get 50% off one item and free shipping when you enter the offer code SAVAGE at checkout.
Hi, Dan. I love your show and had a quick question about something I'm planning with my friend. I'm a college student living in a major city on the East Coast, and recently we thought it might be fun to organize an orgy as a party, and I'm just wondering how to go about that. We're a mix of friends, like some in monogamous relationships, some single, and we want this to be a fun, safe night, but not to have any kind of awkwardness or drama in the morning, if you know what I mean. So what kind of tips do you have? Do you think that's possible? Can we participate in this and still keep on being friends as we have been? Also, if you have any tips for good rules or ways to go about this so that it's as consensual and positive of an experience as possible, that would be great.
There will be awkwardness. There is always awkwardness, particularly at a young college student's first orgy. I think you're headed straight toward awkwardness. You are in a car going 70, headed toward a brick wall of awkwardness if you're inviting monogamous couples to your orgy, because orgy implies that everyone's going to be rolling around on top of everyone. You might want to call it a sex party or a play party instead, because people at a sex party get to have the kind of sex that they would like to have. And of course, people at an orgy should be having the kind of sex that they would like to have. But orgy might put into the heads of some people who are attending that everyone, by dint of being here, has consented to group groping, to swapping, to contact, to basically not monogamous behavior. It is possible for a monogamous couple to go to a sex party, to go to a play party, to go to a swingers event and soak in the erotic vibe and take in the action and observe and be voyeurs and be exhibitionists and still maintain their monogamous commitment. So the first thing I would encourage you to do to avoid avoidable awkwardness, easily avoidable awkwardness, is to rename your party. It is a play party. It is a sex party. It is not an orgy. As for awkwardness, there will be awkwardness. There will be awkward moments. You can't avoid awkwardness. And pretending that there isn't awkwardness or that awkwardness can be avoided or somehow factored out makes the awkward shit that goes down even more awkward. So you should acknowledge the presence of awkwardness. Awkward is a guest at your orgy, and you should make awkward feel welcome by acknowledging awkward and then addressing awkward. Everyone's going to need to use their words. It might be best if when everyone first gathers to the party to have a conversation that involves everyone, where everyone introduces themselves. Everyone can say whether they're monogamous or not, what they might be interested in, whether they're to look or observe or participate. And that will help everyone involved avoid some degree of awkwardness. If somebody says, I'm here with my partner, we only have sex with each other, they won't have that awkward moment of somebody hitting on one or the other or both of them and them having to reject that person who's hitting on. Other good rules of thumb: no cell phones, no checking messages, no emailing, no tweeting, no Instagramming during the orgy. Cell phones away. Even if someone is just looking at their email really quickly or responding to a text message, the person on the other side of the room doesn't know if they're taking a photograph or not. And if everyone doesn't know and trust each other at your orgy, that can be an issue. So have a cell phones off and away rule at your orgy. Might also be good to have a no drugs and alcohol rule, particularly at a young person's very first orgy. You don't want to set up a situation where people who may be nervous or have inhibitions drink to power through their nerves or inhibitions and wind up so drunk that they aren't capable of offering their legitimate consent in the moment. So a sober orgy is a good idea. So your first orgy, best practices, make it a sober orgy. Your 50th orgy, best practices, make it a sober orgy. Circling back to my first point, that conversation, it's really important that people be able to talk about what they want, the sex they want to have, that people are capable of having that kind of conversation. You really have to be capable of having that conversation to be at an orgy. If you have people at your orgy who are too inhibited to talk about sex, to use their words, not just use their junk, that is a recipe for disaster. That is someone who may not be able to advocate for themselves in the moment. That may be someone who doesn't feel comfortable giving a person who's approaching them a direct and clear and unambiguous no thank you. And you should practice that. Everyone gathers in a circle. Let's practice no thank you. If somebody approaches you and asks you to do something and you don't want to do it, don't deflect, don't smile, don't put them off and let them think maybe later or ask again later. It's a no. And it's a no when it's a no, and we're all down with hearing no. And have everyone agree in advance that everyone welcomes the no if it's a no and isn't going to pout or be passive aggressive about it or a jerk about getting a no. The no that you get, say this to your guests, the no that you get right away, that frees you to go find someone who's going to give you the yes. And you can stop wasting your time waiting for or pining for or hoping for the person that you approached who gave you I don't know right now, maybe, if it's a no. And you can stop wasting your time hoping that the person who gave you an unclear and ambiguous answer might give you a clearer yes later if it's actually a no, and it's a no for the whole night. So getting that no isn't somebody doing something terrible to you. It's somebody doing you a favor. They freed you from following them around or waiting for them to come back to you. So you can turn your attentions and focus onto somebody who would like to give you the yes that you were seeking in the first place. You just might get that yes from somebody else. Safe sex. Have a rule about safe sex. Sometimes people bend those rules when there are partners or thruples at a sex party who are fluid bonded. And be clear what your rules around safe sex are. Does everyone have to use condoms? Are people who are in partnered relationships, are couples, are they free not to use condoms? Is it condoms for penetrative sex and oral sex? No condoms or latex barriers required? Clarity. Give people at your party clarity. You are the host or hosts. You make the rules. Anybody who pushes back against your rules at your sex party has disqualified themselves from attending your sex party. What they're telling you in advance when you lay out your rules and they start arguing with you is that they are highly likely in the moment to argue with someone who has told them no, or no thank you, or I'm not interested in that, how about this, or I'm interested in that, but we have to use a condom. You don't want people at your party who argue with your guests about their limits, about their boundaries, and a potential guest at your party who's arguing with you about those limits and boundaries, about your rules in advance, they have disqualified themselves. Have fun.
Hey, Dan, long-time listener, first-time caller. Straight male, 34. I had my first male-female three-way with my wife, and it was like a super intense experience. It was nothing like I thought it was going to be. It wasn't porny. It wasn't like hardcore fucking. I don't know, we both talked about it afterwards, and we felt like kids in a fucking candy store, and I feel liberated and just new, and life feels new, and I feel different about myself and more confident as a man, and it's weird. And I would do anything to make my wife happy, and I'm not a cuckold, and I don't know what I am, and I don't know if I want to put a label on it, but if she wanted me to fucking lick his balls or suck his dick, I would. I wouldn't fucking care. I'm just that confident with who I am. Yeah, so is there a name for it?
You are sexually adventurous with a dash, a touch, a hint of hetero flexibility, depending on the context. A male-male three-way with your wife, maybe a little same-sex contact in that context is something that you would enjoy. Obviously, it is perhaps something that you would enjoy. You anticipate, if it comes to that next time, enjoying it. That makes you a little hetero flexible and sexually adventurous. Cuckolding is your partner having sex with somebody else, and there being an element of humiliation or degradation or denial. It's your partner cheating on you. It's controlled cheating. It is eroticized cheating. It is jealousy eroticized. That's not what you and your wife did. You had a three-way. Period. The end. That's a sexual adventure that you had with your wife, and it was so successful. And you, a straight guy, in the moment, came to the realization that touching another dude's body when you're having sex with your wife isn't something that you have to be terrified of. It isn't a flip you're going to switch and it's going to turn you into a gay person. And really, that incidental contact between the two of you, the two men in that male-male, female three-way, it's a little bi, it's a little heteroflexible. It ain't at all gay. And you can do that. You can go there and be exactly who you are. Some people might want to put the hot wifing label on this, which is a scenario where a man shares his wife, a little like property, with another man. Not like property at all in most cases, but sometimes a little like property. The way people talk about hot wifing, it's his wife and he's sharing her, like lending somebody his car. But it doesn't sound like that's what this was. It sounds like this was a three-way, and you had a blast with your wife, and congratulations. And that feeling of confidence you described, that is familiar to everyone out there listening who's had a successful sexual adventure with someone that they loved, where they realized new things about themselves and they saw in themselves capacities for new forms of sexual pleasure going forward. Congratulations. Finding a great deal is such a thrill, but digging through the clothing racks at your local discount store is exhausting. ThredUp makes it easy to find the brands you love at unbeatable prices. ThredUp is the world's largest online thrift store with over 35,000 brands at up to 90% off retail price. Think Free People dresses for $10, J. Crew jeans for $12, and Kate Spade handbags for $30. Forget sifting through racks. ThredUp makes it super easy to shop by personalizing your experience. Use the filters to save your sizes, favorite brands, and price range to find exactly what you're looking for and find it fast. Every item on the site goes through a 12-point quality inspection process, ensuring the items are in like-new condition. Many are even brand new with tags. Better yet, ThredUp offers free shipping on qualified orders and super easy returns. Show your wallet who's boss and don't wait another minute. Right now, ThredUp is offering Savage Lovecast listeners an extra 30% off your first order. Go to thredup.com/savage. That's thredup.com/savage for an extra 30% off today.
Hi, Dan. This is a 20-something-year-old from Canada. I'm calling looking for some advice with my friend/roommate. We have lived together for over 2 years and been friends for 4, but I've noticed that her dating habits are really starting to hurt her. So she's a very sexual person and likes to have sex with guys. No problem there. I have no judgment. The problem develops when she starts to develop feelings with these guys, but continues to just keep the dates at drinking and fucking. She's told me about several guys that she would love to date and really likes, but when I give her the advice of, why don't you plan a day date or a date where there's no drinking and no sex, just to gauge their genuine interest beyond the physical, she listens but doesn't do it. And I've seen her get hurt time and time again. I'm just wondering, is there any way I can communicate to her that the way she's dating is not getting her closer to what she ultimately wants, which is a relationship? She's expressed that to me many times. She's a heart of gold, but she has the libido of a 14-year-old boy, and it's not lining up. I should also mention she has some self-worth issues. So she said to me on many occasions, she's afraid that these guys won't like her if she's sober/doesn't put out. What can I do, if anything, to get through to her? It's really hard watching someone I care about a lot not get what they want.
First, I want to say that there are people out there who don't want to be in relationships, who just want to fuck randos at regular intervals, who tell their friends, their concerned friends, that they really would like to be in a relationship, but the right person hasn't come along. And these people often will tell their friends that they really want to be in a relationship, but the right person hasn't come along, because we're all supposed to want to be in a relationship. And people who don't want to be in a relationship, people prefer to have one and dones or one or two or three and see you later, dude, feel shamed and feel like they can't own that. And so there are a lot of people out there who will lie and will say, oh yeah, just the right girl or guy hasn't come along, and oh, I really ache inside. I really want that relationship, because that's what they're supposed to want. And they are paying lip service to what everyone's supposed to want. They don't want their friends to think they're damaged, and they don't want the things that everyone wants, and they're not good people, because good people want relationships. Good people don't want a lot of sex, a lot of randos. When in actual fact, some good people do want a lot of sex with a lot of randos. Hopefully good sex with good randos. Doesn't sound like that's the case here with the other details you shared about how your friend feels about this pattern, this rut that she's in. And here's what I would say to your friend if she were my friend. You're worried these guys won't like you if you're sober or not putting out. You do realize that in a relationship, you cannot be drunk 24 hours a day, and you cannot be fucking 24 hours a day. So if you go out with a guy sober at a time when fucking isn't possible because you have a commitment after, or it's the middle of the day, or you're just hanging out with some other friends to play a game of touch football or whatever in the park, and they don't want to see you, they're not somebody you could have a relationship with. And so you've eliminated them from consideration. But the only way to determine if they would want to see you sober and not fucking is to see them sober and not fucking. You say she has low self-esteem, that she has self-esteem issues. And people with low self-esteem, and I would count myself among them, fear rejection. We were just talking about this a little earlier. We should rush toward rejection. Tell your friend not to fear that thing that she fears. She fears rejection, so she doesn't risk the sober, non-fuck date with these guys. And what she's learning, or should be learning, or should see, maybe if you point this pattern out to her, is she is guaranteeing herself rejection. She is orchestrating, engineering the rejection that she fears. Nothing is coming of these relationships because she isn't taking a risk. She isn't making herself vulnerable. She isn't expressing this desire with any of these guys to be more than the drunken hookup. And so she never is anything more than the drunken hookup. And no relationship is possible with any of these guys. So in a sense, she's rejecting herself on their behalf, not giving them a chance to reject her. She's going to rush in and reject herself. That was a pattern that I was in many, many years ago. And it's a pattern that you can snap the fuck out of once you realize that rejection is your friend. The sooner somebody rejects you because they're not interested in you, the sooner you will be climbing on top of, perhaps in that first drunken hookup, somebody who is interested in you and does want to see you sober and does want to see you with your clothes on and does want to spend time with you when they're not plowing you. You sound like a good friend. Continue to encourage her to break out of this pattern. Offer to be her wing person. Tell her the next time she has a rando drunken hookup with some guy that she is interested in seeing again, and seeing if he might be interested in seeing her outside of random drunken hookup time, that you'll get a guy or your boyfriend and you will go out with the two of them. Tell her to invite him along because you guys are going to the movies, or you guys are going to dinner, or you guys are having a game night, playing cards, and invite him over. And you will be there too. Offer a little moral support so it isn't quite as scary as a solo date. And I want to wish you and your friend good luck, but your friend already has good luck. There's evidence of good luck in her life in the fact that you are her friend in the first place. You know you need a massage, but finding the right massage therapist is stressful. So you're going to need that massage even more, and it turns into a vicious cycle. Luckily, this episode is sponsored by Zeal, and you can have the massage come to you. You pick the time, you pick the location, have your next massage on demand at home as soon as possible. Just go to Zeal.com or on Zeal's iPhone or Android app. That's Zeal, spelled ZEEL.com, and select from top local licensed and pre-screened massage therapists. Choose your favorite technique, gender preference, time, and location for your massage. 7 days a week, 365 days a year, a Zeal massage therapist can be at your door in as little as an hour. Privacy, convenience, quality, and comfort, that's what you get with your massage on demand with Zeal. They'll send one of their 9,000 licensed massage therapists with a massage table, music, and everything you need to turn your living room into a spa and give you a 5-star massage. Scheduling, booking, and payment is fast and easy. Even the tip is included. No money changes hands. Don't wait all week for a massage appointment at a spa when Zeal can come to you right away. To help you get started, our listeners can get $25 off their first massage by using the promo code SAVAGE at checkout. And even better, sign up for Zeal's massage membership and get 20% off all your massages, plus a free massage table and sheet set. That's a $380 value, yours free. There's no initiation fee to join the membership, just a great additional savings on top of the $25 discount you're going to get when you use promo code SAVAGE. So go to Zeal, spelled ZEEL.com, or on Zeal's iPhone or Android app, and then make sure to click add promo code at checkout and use my code SAVAGE to get $25 off your first in-home, on-demand massage.
Hello, Dan. This is a gay guy. I'm calling from a West Coast city. I actually have a question about etiquette. Good friend of mine from the Midwest contacted me, said she met a hot, interesting guy on a dating app. Somehow, through the creepy magic of social webs, she noticed that I was friends with this person on Facebook, which I am, and quite like said sexy dude. And she was like, what's the story? Should I go on a date with this guy? Blah, blah, blah. And the answer is yes, she should. And now the reason I'm calling is I probably know something about this guy that she doesn't, and that is simply that he is a trans man. And I'm wondering if it is, like, should I disclose that to her in my sort of vouching for this guy? Should I not? I have not yet, and I feel like that's probably what I'm going to do since it's none of my business. And honestly, I have no idea if she's into trans guys or not or whatever, but, like, it simply just doesn't feel like any of my business. But before I permanently file in that pile, I'm also considering the possibility that she'll, like, call me back and be like, hey, why didn't you tell me this about said sexy dude? All right, so anyway, wondering what your impressions or thoughts on that are. Disclose or nay?
So my initial reaction was you pulled a pin out of a grenade and handed it to me and wandered off, and now I have to figure out what to do with this grenade, this question. It depends. My advice to you really depends on what kind of trans guy are we talking about here. We live in a brave new world where there are increasing numbers of trans men and women who identify not as men and women, which they have an absolute right to identify as, but as trans men and trans women. There's this term, stealth. Stealth is a term that is applied to trans people who live as their true gender and don't discuss, they aren't out about the fact that they transitioned so they could live as their true gender. And they live stealth. That was then. Now, however, there are more people who are trans identified, even people who have, quote unquote, they call it passing privilege. They could pass for male or female without being perceived to be trans or having transitioned at some point. If your friend who is a trans-identified man, a trans man, and he puts that out there, and it's a fact about him, and that's how he rolls it out. That's how he shares it with people. It's just a fact about him. That's his identity. He identifies as a trans man. Then you might be able to share this information with your friend as a fact about this guy that he puts out there in the world. It's his identity. It's how he identifies, how he moves through the world. That said, if that is how he identifies as a trans man, he's going to tell your friend in good time, perhaps on the first date, that he is a trans man. And so you don't need to say anything, but you could. If, however, he is not publicly identifying himself as a trans man, outing him as a trans man is not something that you should do. Trans people are subjected to discrimination and violence A lot of trans people don't live in places or don't work in places where they can safely be out as trans. And so they are not out as trans. And you could rain hell down upon this guy by telling people willy-nilly that he is a trans guy. You have to ask yourself, who is this friend that we're talking about? Is he a trans-identified guy? Well, then he'll probably tell your friend, and it's a fact about him that he puts out there in the world. That's why you know it. Does he identify as trans on Facebook and other social media? Then you probably don't need to tell your friend, but you could. If he doesn't, you can't. You can't tell your friend. You can't out him for fear of the repercussions, violence, the discrimination, the hatred that may be directed his way if this spreads when he is trying to be discreet about it, or this is information he only shares with people he trusts. And if you are one of those people and he trusts you and he shared this information with you, if you are not just his Facebook friend, but his friend, then maybe this is something you should discuss with him, the position you find yourself in. Maybe it's not this big gay mo at the advice show that you should have called this morning, but your trans man friend. You can make this Valentine's Day one you'll never forget with this amazing offer from adamandeve.com. Through Valentine's Day, you'll receive 50% off just about any item. Just go to adamandeve.com and you'll find thousands of adult entertainment products, including toys, lingerie, and a seemingly endless selection of adult DVDs. And there's more. They'll also throw in free shipping on your entire order. So check out adamandeve.com today for this special Valentine's offer. Get 50% off one item and free shipping when you enter code SAVAGE at checkout. SAVAGE, that's SAVAGE at adamandeve.com.
Hi, Dan. I've got a problem in my marriage currently that I'm hoping you can help me with or provide some insight. My husband is an active duty service member in the military, and he has recently picked up the habit of smoking cigarettes. This is a huge problem for me because I grew up in a household with two parents who were chronic chain smokers and still are, to the effect that the walls were completely yellow growing up and are now just brown as I'm an adult. His job is insanely stressful. As being in the military, he's in law enforcement. He works extremely long hours, has to deal with toxic leadership on a daily basis, and is just having a really hard time coping and managing the stress that he's incurring every day at the workplace. About a month ago, I caught him because I found cigarettes in his pants pocket. He knew that this was a huge issue for me and something that I wouldn't put up with, and he'd been hiding it from me for about a month by the time I found out. We had a huge blow-up, a huge conversation, and we had come to the agreement that he would quit, he would throw them away, and it wouldn't be a problem. About a week ago, I smelled it in his hair and confronted him about it, to which he revealed that he'd started smoking again for about a week. He said that the reason that he smokes is because it's the only thing he's found that helps him relieve stress while he's at work. It's the only way that they let him take 5 to 10 minute breaks during his work shift. And the nicotine that he inhales helps his brain kind of release stress. I've encouraged him to consider other options for stress management, to which he's turned just about everything down. I've encouraged him to seek out professional help through behavioral health resources. I've encouraged him to do breathing techniques or maybe try vaping. I would put up with that as long as I don't have to smell the secondhand smoke that I have vowed to not have to expose myself to as an adult. I refuse to have it in my household, on my pillows, on my sheets, on my dogs. It's just not something that I can handle or I'm willing to put up with as a price of admission. It's just not going to work. I'm hoping you may have some suggestions or resources that may be helpful. I'm kind of on my last leg, and I feel just increasingly paranoid every day, sniffing things to see if he's smoking again because I can't really trust him to tell me the truth.
One of my earliest childhood memories is being in the back seat of my parents' Chevy Nova with the windows rolled up in Chicago in the winter when it was 20 degrees outside, and both of my parents in the front seat smoking. So I share your pain. I grew up in a household with smokers, and I hate the smell of cigarettes. For me, it is a deal breaker. I would not date a guy who smoked, and I would not continue to live with or be married to a guy who took up smoking after we got together. You described it as a deal breaker. Tell him again and again, it is a deal breaker. The choice you have here is this stress relief mechanism or this spouse. And however stressful your job is, divorce is pretty stressful too. And that's where we're headed if you continue to smoke. I'm sorry to hear that your husband's in the military, because it's not just go get a job with less stress or transfer to some other police department in another city or get into a new line of work if this line of work drives you to this self-destructive and marital bond destructive habit. But that's really irrelevant, because the choice here is cigarettes or you. However much stress that causes him on top of his work stress, that's the choice. Because it is for you, as it is for me, a deal breaker, a non-negotiable. Get him some Nicorette gum, get him into a smoking cessation class, tell him you will find him a hypnotist, whatever it takes to save your marriage. But to save your marriage, he's got to stop fucking smoking. Period. The end.
Hi, Dan. I'm a 31-year-old female. Been married to a wonderful man for 12 years. We've been pretty GGG for each other before I even knew there was a name for it after hearing your show. I'm calling because I'm looking for advice or guidance in one specific aspect of our sex life, anal sex. My husband expressed his interest in anal sex pretty early on in our relationship. I was willing to explore it with him, even though I had never had any interest before. It was definitely a challenge. We were careful and went slow, and he was very attentive and considerate, but it was difficult and painful. I continued doing it for him, though, and over the years, it's gotten easier. My relationship to anal sex has changed quite a bit. Now I find the idea of anal sex quite appealing, and when I'm in the mood for it, I enjoy anal play and intercourse quite a bit. But here's the thing. As soon as I orgasm, which can happen pretty quickly, I am absolutely done. And I loathe the sensation any time past that. I end up usually grinning and bearing it while he hurries up to try and finish. And it seems very unfair to him and to me that this is happening. The fact that it happens every time has me kind of wanting to avoid anal sex, even though I do enjoy imagining it. Are there any things that I can do that will help make this better for both of us?
We're supposed to say that if you try something and you find it to be difficult and painful, you should stop trying that something. And yet your call is evidence that there are some things and sometimes if you keep at it, if you give it another try, if you grin and bear it a little bit for your partner's pleasure, that you may find in time that this thing is pleasurable for you too. You may catch a groove and come to really value this sex act and the ways in which it does give you pleasure, but it took you a long time to get to that pleasure place. And so I never want to tell people to keep doing something that doesn't work for them, something that is painful. But there are lots of examples out there when you talk to your friends, particularly about anal sex, when you talk to your friends, you talk to your gay friends, of people who at first it wasn't fun. It wasn't pleasurable for them. They were giving it up for the other person. And as you were, caller, grinning and bearing it. And then they turn a corner, and then they catch a groove. And then this thing that at first wasn't that appealing or maybe was uncomfortable begins to work for them in a big way. And it sounds like anal now does that for you, works for you in a big way. Maybe works a little too well, because as soon as you start in, you are climaxing. You have your orgasms very soon after the anal intercourse begins. And it is not uncommon for anal bottoms to want the top, that want that dick out of them. The minute they come, it is over. The anal pleasure, their experience of pleasure ends and they want it out. That is so common. And why is that? Well, when we have orgasms, our sphincters contract. and are asked that we had to consciously work on breathing and using a lot of lube and going slow. We had to work to open up, and relax isn't relaxed or open anymore. It slams shut. And it can slam shut with a dick in it, and that can be painful. And usually at this point, the lube that you applied so much of back earlier in that interaction, at the beginning of that anal episode, the lube that you applied so much of way, way, way back when you started has been absorbed a little bit. Maybe it's spilled out. Maybe it's dried up and gotten tacky. It's not doing everything for you that lube should do. And people who have anal typically don't reapply lube, particularly as they're heading into the home stretch. You should. It's actually good practice. Have the lube handy. Put a little more in. Couldn't hurt. Could help. So what do you do? When you want it out, he should take it out. He should time it better so that he's close to coming. He can stroke, get himself close, dive in. That's the standard advice, and I 100% support you if that's what you want to run with. There is also the power bottom varsity advice, which is you came, he hasn't finished. He can keep going after a couple of minutes. What you do is while you come, he stops thrusting. He doesn't keep going. He stays perfectly still while you breathe, and you consciously make an effort to relax your anal sphincters after your orgasmic contractions are through, after they're done. And you breathe and relax, and you consciously send message. You fire off those neurons from your brain to your butt that says, hey, relax again. We're done coming. Now we're just going to lay back and go loose and get loose again. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody can get there. I'm assuming that if you've been at this for 12 years, maybe you've already tried this approach. And if it didn't work and you tried it, you don't have to keep doing it. Just like you didn't have to keep having anal the first few times when you tried it and you found it difficult and painful. But you did. You kept trying it. And you found the way to make that work for you. You found that it was intensely pleasurable for you. So intensely pleasurable for you, it pushes you over the edge right away. Too soon, too quickly. You may find with a little effort the power bottom varsity technique of you get to relax and enjoy your orgasm with the dick inside you. They stop thrusting. He stops thrusting. The husband stops fucking you until he gets the go-ahead from you again to start up again very slowly, to reapply lube again at that moment, which he doesn't have to withdraw all the way to do. Withdraw and drizzle lube onto the shaft and gently reintroduce it. But this is above and beyond. This is extra credit. You do not have to do this, but I am giving you this not as an order, but as an alternate solution. Ideally, perhaps you should figure out what you need to think about to delay your orgasm, and he should compensate, make an accommodation, get himself closer before the anal aspect of the evening's events begin, so it doesn't take him as long. But if you want to go for it, if you want to try, you could join the Power Bottom Varsity. You could get your varsity letter.
Hi, Dan. I'm a 21-year-old, at this point, gender fluid person who has never, ever in their entire life dated someone who identifies as male. I came out as gay before I started figuring out what my sexual identity was, and I've never dated any men since I've come out. And I know that I don't really know very many dating rules and very much dating etiquette, but there was a guy I contacted once on a dating app that I actually kind of wanted to get to know better. And I was really adventurous that day, so I offered to go get coffee with him. And so we made like the friend request and everything, and then he just never said anything back. And it's coming to a point now where I still like him. I follow him on social media. I find him just to be very cool and interesting as a person. And there's a part of me that still wants something to happen. Now, some of my friends have suggested I reach out and try again, but I'm not quite so sure if that's a great idea, especially since I barely know anything about what counts as good dating etiquette or good flirting etiquette. I don't even know what to do. Would it make me sound like someone who's just been so hung up on this person, so obsessively hung up on this person that they've just been waiting to contact them back? Or should that be something I'm looking forward to if I'm already trying to work some things out by myself? I don't know.
A brief interaction on social media, an exchange of flirty direct messages, or a brief interaction through a dating app or through a hookup app is really the modern technological equivalent of briefly making eye contact with someone in a bar. We used to go to bars and you'd see a cute guy and you'd make eye contact and there'd be a kind of a connection. And then you'd circle back later and that person wouldn't be making eye contact with you anymore. Or you'd see him again another night and he wasn't making eye contact with you anymore. And you just had to read into that, well, I guess he wasn't interested. Guess that was just brief interest and it passed and there's no longer mutual interest. And then you look around to see who else is desperately trying to make eye contact with you in that bar. That's how it used to work. People attach way too much importance to those brief exchanges they have on apps and through social media because there is this moment of really personal contact. There's this exchange of messages. You've established a connection. But really, that a connection is as ephemeral and fleeting as that brief moment of eye contact in a bar 30 years ago when bars where queer people or gay people met each other. So don't stress about it too much. Maybe he was into you, maybe he thought about it for a minute and then thought better of it, or he got serious about somebody else, and it's not going to happen. That said, you can send him another message. Just remember I said, that you made brief eye contact, then you saw the guy in the bar again. A week later, you made eye contact again. And maybe then you talked, maybe then you fucked. Or you tried to make eye contact again and that person didn't look at you again, didn't reciprocate the eye contact, or gave you a blank stare, which said, yeah, no. Implicit in what I was unpacking for you is you can try again. You can eye fuck that person again and see if they're still interested in eye fucking you back and maybe actually fucking you later. So send him another message. Don't sit there wringing your hands wondering about whether you should send another message. Send him another message. A second message after a proposed coffee date that the other person indicated interest in. That ain't stalking and that ain't desperation. That's just good follow through. So send him that second message and say, hey, still up for coffee if you are. Let me know. And if you don't hear from him again, don't send a third or a fourth or a fifth or a sixth message. Don't show up at their place of employment. Don't follow them down the street. Don't fucking stalk them. Then you know the answer is no. But that one message, that one brief exchange, maybe they were high, maybe they forgot, maybe that message, your message, got washed away with 30 other messages that came in after, and they just need to be reminded that you're there. They need to see you again in the bar to go get that coffee and then maybe get up on you. Yeah, send that second message. Don't hesitate. Don't wring your hands. Don't overthink it too much, the second message. But then no response to the second message? Yeah, you go away without bitterness. You had a brief eye fuck in a bar. You made eye contact with a cute person who made eye contact with you. Take the ego boost of that forward with you instead of the rejection. Hey, somebody found me attractive. Other people are going to find me attractive. Didn't work out with that person. Who knows what was going on? Maybe they were from out of town. Maybe they have a boyfriend and they were just harmlessly flirting and couldn't follow through. But they were into me. And if they were into me, even though it couldn't happen, somebody else is going to be into me.
Hi, this is a comment for the caller in episode 588 who is talking to her Catholic cousin about masturbation. I, similarly, am an active Catholic coming from a very Catholic family. I am also a liberal and a feminist and a lesbian. I know that when I come out to my extended family and they ask how I can be Christian and a lesbian, I plan on asking them, if God is love, why would God have a problem with love? It doesn't make sense for love to have a problem with love. So, specific to your question, you can tell your cousin it doesn't make sense for a loving God to forbid you from doing something that is good for you.
Hello, comment for the caller in episode 588 who said she was in love with her brother-in-law. Oh, I'm sorry about your situation, but stop using the word love even in your own mind. You have a crush on him. You have a crush on him. Twice in my 18-year marriage, I've had significant crushes on men other than my husband, and men I worked with very closely. My husband out of town, spending a lot more time with these people. What I did was focus on what it was I liked about them in both cases. In one case, it was how much he spoke well of his wife. So him having an affair was not even a possibility. If he would have an affair, he wouldn't be the man I had a crush on. I think that might be the same with your brother-in-law. And then also, I would look for things about them that bugged me, things that made them human, whether it's something physical, something emotional. Maybe he's indecisive. Maybe he has slopey shoulders. There's something in there that is human and imperfect. Focus on that. He's not magic. He's not the one. He's a human mortal with flaws that you have a crush on. Nothing more.
Hi, this is the woman in show 588 who not able to come from columnist. My wife had the opposite issue. She couldn't come from penetrative sex, couldn't come from being rubbed or cunnilingus, only could come with a vibrator. And for a long time, we struggled with that, as it sounds like you struggle. And I felt inadequate. She felt inadequate until finally we just figured out that that's how her clit is wired, and she needs a vibrator right on the clit to come. And since we just accepted that's how she works, it's been great. Lots of orgasms for her. Our sex has been fine. And I just want to encourage you that that's just how you're wired, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And we're going to leave it there. 206-302-2064 is the number here at the Savage Lovecast. If you'd like to record a question or a comment for a future show, give us a buzz, 206-302-2064. If you like my ranting at the top of the show, you will love me on Blabbermouth, the Stranger's Weekly News and Politics podcast hosted by Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Eli Sanders, me and Eli, and snot-nosed millennial Rich Smith. We debate everything going on everywhere. Every Wednesday on Blabbermouth, you can get it wherever you get your other podcasts. And people who love podcasts love swag. We have Savage Lovecast swag in addition to all my ITMFA swag I'm constantly pumping. I rarely remember to pump Savage Lovecast t-shirts and coffee mugs for sale at www.savagelovecast.com, along with all my books. Wear me, read me, drink me, click shop at the top of the homepage. Follow me on Twitter at FakeDanSavage. Follow Erika Lust on Twitter at Erika Lust, and that is Erika with a K. The Savage Lovecast is produced every week by Nancy Hartunian and me and the tech-savvy at-risk youth. And Nancy, we'll all be back at you next week with another installment of Savage Lovecast.